Well, hello there, my friend. I'm so glad you could join me today. My name's Daniel. This is Drummer Daily, which is a podcast for drummers. So if for some reason you stumbled on this and you're a guitar player, well, you might enjoy this. But if you are not a musician, you definitely may not get too much out of this podcast. But I appreciate you joining me either way. I apologize again. I didn't post any new episodes last week. And the biggest reason, well, there's a couple of reasons. This last week was the first week of summer break for my son. And so spent a little extra time hanging with him. The swimming pool opened the community swimming pool opened. And so we've been doing that, playing outside a lot. I got a new grill appropriately for summer. And so was messing with that. But the biggest thing that happened, and I'm sure that you are aware of it, or at least know something was going on, is that there's that thing that happened a couple of weeks ago where you got like a million emails that were like from companies saying our privacy policy is updated, and that's not just because everybody decided to update their privacy policy and email you about it all at the same time. It's because there's this new law that went into effect in the European Union. And long story short, without getting too technical, basically everybody in the world had to change some things about how they do business, myself included. And so as a result, I had to do a lot of really boring technical work to make sure that I was compliant with that law, because it applies to everyone, even if the company wasn't in the European Union. If you do business with anyone, or you do anything with anybody that listens for me, anybody who listens to my podcast who might be in the European Union, or if you have bought anything from me and you're in the EU, anything like that, you're on my mailing list, all that, I had to make some updates and some changes to make sure that I complied with that new regulation, as did everybody else in the world, which is why you got so many emails from all these companies in your inbox. So anyway, I was overwhelmed with trying to handle that last week and just didn't expect it to be so much work, which is kind of, life. But I'm through it all. I'm back here with you. I'm hanging out. I've got a loaf of homemade bread in the oven. I like baking. I've talked about that before in the podcast. So I just threw that in the oven. My wife and son went off to the swimming pool, actually, of all places. And so I've got a quiet moment, and I thought I'd hang out with you. And so one thing that I wanted to talk about, and I've had this on my radar to share with you for a while, is in one of the private Facebook groups that I run. So one of the ones that's for people who've I believe this came up in Pro Drum Academy, which is a online course that I have where I teach basically everything you need to know about becoming a professional drummer. We have a private Facebook group where everyone who's in that class can kind of share ideas and post their assignments, things like that. And a question that's come up, and a sentiment that I've perceived a lot, is something that really hit home with me, because I actually realized that the same thing happened to me a few years ago, and I wonder if maybe it's happening to you. And it's this. Part of what I teach my students is, hey, you're gonna have to at some point start putting yourself out there as a musician, sharing what you do, what you're playing in a professional context, all of those things. And so for many of us, that means posting videos or audio of ourselves on social media. And I know for me, a few years ago, when I started really deciding to leverage social media for my drumming, there was a dilemma that I ran into. And it was, for me, I previously had been using social media for personal purposes, just the normal stuff most people do. Most non-musicians use social media for posting photos of my cat or my kid, or what we're doing, some meal that I had that I thought looked great, or, just stuff like that. And I realized that, my close friends, the people that I really knew, which is who I always tried to engage with on my social media, that I basically was afraid to switch and start posting nothing but drum videos, or just drumming, kind of going more down that route. Because I thought, man, all these people who know me really well are going to be like, why is he doing this? It seems so, I guess, intentional in a way, which it was, of course, but all of us, drumming is a big part of our lives, but it's not everything in our life. There's other things we do throughout the day. And I was hesitant to commit on a social media platform to my identity in some ways, publicly or even with my acquaintances and my friends, being nothing but drumming. Maybe it's this weird insecurity that I have about people thinking that's all I am, and I didn't want that to be all I was. Or maybe even just thinking, man, what do I do if a year from now, and it's been more than a year now since I did this, but a year from now, what if people start going back through my timeline and they see that there was a date and time when all of a sudden everything went to drumming, and they're like, well, what's up before this? It just seemed inconsistent to me. But what I eventually realized, and what I definitely believe now about that, is that all those things were just excuses for not putting myself out there, not putting my music out there, my art out there in that public way. Which is funny because I've been a professional drummer for, well over 10 years now, maybe closer to 15. I haven't done the math in a while. But I've been a professional drummer for a long time. I've been playing publicly for a long time. But for whatever reason, in my mind, there was a hurdle to putting myself out there. I guess maybe opening myself up to the trolls and the haters online that might see something I did and have something bad to say. I don't know what it was. But for whatever reason, I was making excuses for not making that switch. And it felt really awkward to me to just draw a line in the sand and say, okay, from this point forward, from today on, as far as my Instagram account goes, for example, I'm a professional drummer, and here's nothing but drumming all the time, my life. And I definitely don't think that it has to be that way, but I definitely had a purpose behind my social media, and I hope that you do too, at least if you're an aspiring professional musician. But I guess the point of what I'm trying to make today is this. Don't be afraid to reinvent yourselves. And I don't mean start pretending or be fake. What I mean is don't be afraid to make a change in your life. And definitely as a drummer or the type of music maybe that you're trying to pursue. I've actually been working personally with a couple of drummers right now who are in the middle of that. They said, you know what, I've been known up until this point in my community for being this kind of drummer, but I perceive that I want a need over here in this other style, and I know that I want to get better at that style, so I'm going to make a switch. It's never too late to make that switch. It's never the wrong choice. If it's authentic to you, it's never the wrong choice to say, you know what, I was doing that other thing, but I'm going to do this new thing now with my music or with my drumming. That's not a bad choice to make if it's authentic to who you are and what you want to be doing. So I just want to encourage you, there can be an awkward feeling of, I'm kind of stuck in this rut of what I'm doing now with communicating with other people who I am. But I just want to encourage you to don't be afraid to draw that line in the sand and say, you know what, I'm going to make that change. For me, it meant that I had to be okay with the fact that some of my friends in real life that, follow me on social media, they probably weren't going to be that interested in all my drumming stuff all the time. And I had to be okay with the fact that if that was true of them, that they might stop following me or unfriend me or whatever that means, and I had to be okay with that. And so you are going to be in the same situation. If you make a drastic change in what you're putting out there publicly, you might lose some followers or some quote unquote friends. Of course, we know you're not going to hopefully not lose real friends, but you might lose some people in the social media sense along the way. You just got to be okay with that. And you got to know that I remembered, I got reminded of this pretty early on. One of my friends told me, it's like, I know that you change stuff on your social media, but I still know you. It's not like you changed. It's just what you're putting out there for other people. And that social media stuff isn't real life. Real life is what we do with each other. And definitely as musicians, real life is playing music with each other. So again, just don't be afraid to make that jump, make that move into something new, and especially when it comes to social media. So that's all I've got for you today. I've got some really exciting episodes planned for you this week, so I hope you check back and join me for all of those. And thanks for joining me. We'll talk again real soon. Bye for now.